This podcast is brought to you by the National Animal Nutrition Program, sponsored by USDA Natural Resources Conservation Service.
Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Avery and with me is Zia. Today we're going to dive into a topic that's, fundamental for anyone managing cattle: energy.
That's right, Avery. It sounds simple, but getting energy right is the cornerstone of a healthy, productive herd. So let's start with the basics. When we say energy in cattle nutrition, what are we really talking about?
It's a great question. The simplest way to think about it is that energy is the potential to do work. For a cow, work isn't just plowing a field, it's everything. It's keeping the heart beating, breathing, walking around, and then all the production things we ask of them, like growing, making milk, and having a calf.
So it's the fuel, just like gasoline for a car.
Exactly. But, and this is the important part, not all the energy in a feedstuff actually makes it into the cow's gas tank. There's this, let's call it a waterfall effect.
Ooh, I like that. A waterfall. Okay, so what's at the top of the waterfall?
That would be what we call gross energy, or GE. Think of this as the total potential energy in the feed. If you were to just, burn a pound of hay in a lab, the heat it gives off is the gross energy. It's the total amount locked inside.
But a cow isn't a furnace. It can't use all of that, right?
Precisely. The first big loss comes right out the back end. I'm talking about feces. A big chunk of that gross energy is never even digested, and it's lost in the manure. What's left after that, that's called digestible energy, or DE.
Okay, so we've gone from gross to digestible. We're partway down the waterfall. But the losses don't stop there, do they?
Nope. The next step down, we lose more energy in urine and, in the gases they produce. Methane mostly. So when you subtract those losses from the digestible energy, you get metabolizable energy, or ME. This is getting us much closer to what the animal can actually work with.
Uh-huh, ME, and there's one more step if I remember correctly.
The final one, the very act of eating, chewing, and digesting burns energy. It creates body heat. We call this the heat increment. It's like the cost of doing business for the digestive system. So subtract that heat loss from the metabolizable energy, and you're finally left with the good stuff, net energy, NE.
That net energy is what's actually available for the animal to use for everything we talked about: staying alive, growing, making milk. That's a great explanation. So once the cow has this bucket of net energy, how does her body decide what to spend it on? Is there an order to it?
Oh, absolutely. It's a very strict hierarchy. Think of it like a household budget. You have to pay the most important bills first. For a cow, the first bill she pays is maintenance.
Vital functions, keeping the lights on.
Exactly. Heartbeat, respiration, brain activity, immune system, all the basic things to stay alive. That energy gets paid for first, no matter what.
Okay, so after the maintenance bill is paid, what's next in line for any leftover energy?
Well, let me think. If she has a calf on her side, the next priority is lactation. She'll put energy into making milk to feed that calf. Her body is programmed to take care of the offspring she already has.
That makes sense. Take care of the present before planning for the future. So that means reproduction must be next on the list.
You got it. Only after her own body is maintained and she's producing milk for her current calf will her body invest energy in getting pregnant again. This is so critical for producers to understand. If your cows aren't breeding back, the first place to look is almost always their energy status.
It's a luxury expense from the cow's point of view. If times are tough and energy is tight, reproduction is the first thing her body shuts down. It's a survival mechanism. She won't spend resources on a new pregnancy if she can't even support herself and her current calf.
That's the whole ball game for a cow-calf operation right there. So maintenance first, then lactation, then reproduction. What happens to any energy that's left over after all of that?
That's the money in the savings account. It gets stored as fat. That's her energy reserve for later. It's what gives her that good body condition. So if she hits a tough patch, she can mobilize those fat stores to keep paying the bills in the right order.
Right. A cow in good condition has a buffer. A thin cow has no reserves. So any energy shortfall immediately impacts those lower priority functions, like getting pregnant.
It really highlights why energy nutrition is so crucial. Okay, so to wrap this up, let's talk practicals. When producers need to supplement energy, what are some of the common things they're reaching for?
Sure, the most common ones are usually high starch grains, things like corn, barley, sorghum. Then you have fibrous byproducts, which can be great options: soybean hulls, wheat middlings, beet pulp, and of course, you can use fat sources like oil seeds.
And it's always about balancing those supplements with the forage base you have available. That's a whole other podcast, I think.
You're right. That's a whole topic in itself. And it's a practical challenge many producers face, especially in places where the industry relies heavily on low-quality forages. These forages often don't have enough energy to meet the needs of certain cattle, like developing heifers or lactating cows, even when protein supplements are provided.
Exactly. And in those situations, supplemental energy becomes absolutely necessary. Sometimes energy feeds are even used as a direct substitute for forage when forage availability itself is inadequate.
That's a good point. For instance, about a pound of an energy-dense feed, like corn, can replace 1.5 to 2 pounds of forage, but that can get expensive since forage is usually the cheapest option.
So, to pull it all together, there are two big ideas for everyone to take away. First is that waterfall effect. The energy on the feed tag isn't what the animal actually gets. It goes from gross down to digestible to metabolizable and finally to the net energy she can actually use. Second, her body has a strict budget. It pays for maintenance first, then lactation, then reproduction, and only stores what's left over.
Exactly, and understanding that budget is key. If a cow isn't rebreeding, it's almost always because her energy income doesn't cover those high priority bills. It's a powerful diagnostic tool for any producer.
Well said. That's a great place to leave it for today. Thank you for joining me today, Avery.
Absolutely. Thank you to everyone tuning in, and we hope you join us again next time.
This podcast was generated by Wondercraft and moderated by NANP.